What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? I am BTLM, coming to my buddy J4Y, bringing you episode number 109 of the Dota On Demand podcast. What is going on, my friend?
We're getting a fine.
Hey,
Oh my
where's my
goodness,
camera?
I'm doing good. So,
Okay, explain.
all of a sudden the website had opened up. I decided to start playing advertisements on a random part of it. So, your introduction got a nice little boost of sound with it. It was good. It was almost like enhancing it, I think. We'll go with that. So, yeah, I'm doing pretty good. It's a nice Wednesday evening.
Yes.
Of course, due to J4Y's fault, we switch it up. Whose fault it is every week. So, things
And
going on. Stuff.
You also, you know what? You're just gonna have to take the bullet.
Already
Jay, Party Animal 4Y, almost had to postpone it again because he almost went outside. So we need to publicly shame you for trying to spend time with others socially.
Oh, I know, it was dangerous. I almost got way too much sunlight. And it was actually like a nice day today. So it been like way too much sunlight. Like at least there was cloud cover yesterday when I was walking from my car to my apartment and back. But yeah, it was just almost too much today. But yeah, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm excited. I really like everything we're talking about. I think it's a great mix. You know, last week, kind of like super serious, you know, high level cerebral. Oh God, how do we fix Pro Dota? And this week we're gonna just touch a little bit on that, as it was the question of the week. And we want to thank everybody who stopped by the website to vote on that, and you know, everybody who stopped by the Facebook to post their opinions. We're gonna talk about that a little bit, and then we're also gonna be talking about SLAHSER and his crazy, ridiculous builds, some of which have been featured very notably in the pro scene, and then our experiences with them. If anybody got to tune into the live stream a couple days ago, we were streaming some of the games that we played for our super serious research on the topic. But first, we have to give a shout out to our buddy, friend of the show. He's appeared on the podcast and now has actually posted an article to the DodaOnDemand.com website, GenoBeam. He's written a nice little article about basically tracking improvement and trying to quantify or really find out what is most important to deciding how much you're improving or if you're improving while playing Dota. You know, you guys should definitely drop by the website and draft a nice little response. Other friend of the show, Bonk, actually dropped by and did a great job of putting his 2 cents in. And GenoBeam, if you're not aware of what's going on with his post, he has basically given you the first part. You have to stop by this week, drop in some responses. GenoBeam is going to take a look at those, and he's going to use those to sort of craft the next part of that article. And then after a couple of these instances, we're going to have the full-fledged thing. I think it's going to be really cool. But do you have any thoughts on it? Just a little high level.
In general? Yeah, I think he brought up a lot of good points in his article. He even has great pictures. I'm a big picture fan. Many pop-up books when I was a child. So, yeah, it's actually nice to see the analysis. He kind of goes over more or less how he's improved as a player and different things he's analyzed over time. I really like the thoroughness, and I like also how it is open-ended at the end, and that's kind of the whole idea, right, that you were getting into, is that it's we want you guys to contribute, and really was enjoying Bonk's response to it. It was a little bit of a story, you know. I had to do a little bit of reading beyond the reading I was already assigned to do, so it was like, don't leave me down with homework, why don't you? I know, 2 books. I barely have done 1 in the course of the last 4 years, so yeah, I don't know, though. It was overall, I think, a really well-written, a good start, and I know there's many more to come in that regard.
Yeah, I mean, I really liked I feel like, you know, it was a good quality response Bonk throughout there, which is, you know, I'm sure GenoBeam appreciates. Can be throwing the direct quotes. But, you know, I think it's a really interesting topic because, you know, it goes back to an interview that I mentioned previously with Dendy, where he goes, you know, he really doesn't think that MMR is a great way to sort of tell how good you are, and says, of course, in a bit of hyperbole, that, you know, a 7K player could know nothing about Dota. You know, you have players who are 70% skill, and maybe their mechanics, but, you know, there's like 30% that you have to sort of chalk up to, you know, other things like how well you communicate, if you can play more than one role. And even goes on to say, I've been playing recently in iDeck, which is a European league built out of an extra client. And he's like, it's great because, it's mostly built out of people that are at a really high level or on pro teams. And they get to just like sort of, there's no rage, there's no bickering, there's no, I need to play this role and I'm doing it, good luck.
It's like in-house scrimming. It's just, but not like 5-on-5 pro teams. I mean, yeah, that's an ideal world, I think, for players, but unfortunately not realistic for the majority of them. So it is nice to see that something is kind of getting produced like that in the high-level scene. I know this is going to maybe sidetrack a little bit. I'm on Dota 2 Reddit probably too frequently for my own good. But there was this guy talking about the nature of 6.83 in general, but also kind of the progression of Dota 2 and what the scene has become. And it basically was going on to say, in his opinion, that ever since ranked MMR came out, that the mindset of the average Dota 2 player is just so drastically different than back in the day when it was just casual play. Back in the day, you could have just like played a couple games, got some losses. The following day, you're kind of a new peef. I'm trying to say leaf page. It's a new peef now. Newest word from J4Y. You're welcome. But yeah, essentially, games didn't really matter at the end of the day. But now that you have the MMR system in place, and especially now that you know who the highest is, it's like MMR seems to be just like the focal point, like the thing you focus on the most. Because, like you said, all these other stats, I mean, yeah, Dota buff's helpful here and there, but you're not really seeing that. You're just seeing this number, and you're seeing it go up and down based on your games. So it's like people focus so much and so hard at that these rages come out. If you pick someone that's not popular in the meta, your team might all of a sudden bash you right away. Despite it being a decent pick, it's not what they think you should pick, and it could just lead to all this drama. And it's a whole different mindset. I'm thinking back when we were playing Dota 1. Well, you were AI, especially when you started, but a little bit of a different situation. But even still, sorry, I just did the pose that our friend was doing on his old things. But yeah, I remember just playing with my friends, and we would just pick who. It didn't matter. We'd play like the crazy dazzle mid. We'd do whatever the hell we want, build items, and you'd be like, oh, that game, we lost, that sucks. But we weren't raging, we weren't mad. It was just like a whole different. We were just having fun. It was literally just a game, and now it's become so much more than a game. And, I feel like there's so many pressures. The MMR is not the only thing. The pro scene is so prevalent with all the money, so people feel like they need to improve and be better for that reason maybe too. I don't know. Do you kind of get the same kind of vibe?
I do. And you know what? This makes me really just want to jump ahead and start get right, because I feel like the slasher builds are a really good example of something that we've actually brought up a lot. This is just, I feel like, a really prevalent theme. Every once in a while we seem to do a show that's sort of about this, and just trying to not have such a rigid idea of what Dota is, because I can totally agree with you, and I mean, I think one of my favorite stats from back in playing Han that you don't find in Dota 2 was wards bought in place. Something that's so core and critical to the game, but you can have somebody that is playing at 2k MMR who's really trying to ward, give his team vision, and maybe he's just he's a career support. I know that game. Turns out you don't typically get your super high MMR by carrying your team to glory with support heroes. Maybe you can. If you can, good for you. But sometimes just I tried to do the best I can, and I still couldn't make the wins happen.
It's still a 5v5 game, unfortunately.
Yeah, a big part of being sport is you can sort of create the opportunity, but you need other people to capitalize. So, stuff like that where you don't really get a good quantitative number, and it's but if I'm warding better and I'm warding more often, that's improvement. Do you necessarily really see that?
Right.
It's tough.
Well, we shouldn't get too deep into that, because this is just the initial thing. Like I said, we're so good at going sidetracked.
I say we do it. Let's just go deep, Jay. We'll come back. We'll hit them all.
Are you going for dessert before the appetizer? Because once you eat that dessert, man, it's everything else is going to taste like shit. Let's just be honest with it.
Mm-hmm. No, we'll get something deep fried, so it's it'll still be good, It'll be perfect.
Fair enough.
Because the other thing, a core part of the slasher builds is that they are not normal. And when I say not normal, a lot of them are maybe slight variations of what you might see out of people. Others of them are more dramatic. And one of the very popular ones that we've seen most recently was Slasher's Windrunner build, Wind Ranger build. And you may have actually seen this in Alliance versus Na'vi game, where Pycat, playing for Alliance, happens to go this build, and I will let you explain, Jay, since you were the one who was actually field testing it during the course of the week. Winds up doing pretty good, putting on a bit of a Wind Ranger clinic, and then thanking Slasher at the end of the game.
Yes. Chat. It's beautiful.
Yes. Now, if you don't know who Slasher is, he has a YouTube channel. He puts up a lot of videos. They're very interesting. They are infotainment, educational, formative, and fun to watch. Used to be a professional player for MYM, and now just kind of does his videos. But Jay, what is his build for Wind Ranger, and what did you think of it?
First of all, I just want him to be. It's like his name is SLAHSER. So it's like Slasher, but it's like SLAHSER. Yeah, it's so, it's fun to say Slasher, but then when you look back, by the way, was he the one that casted with Toby in TI1? Wasn't that Slasher? I swear to God it was. Well,
Jay, I don't know what I had.
We'll get the Fox News fact checker coming back in later, but I'm going to go ahead and say that he was the one casting with Toby in TI1 in Germany. So let's just throw it out there. Anyways,
probably a fact.
Probably a fact. So essentially this build, you start out with a nice null talisman into the tangos. You go mid, of course. I get the mid roll going. Basically, he loves her as a mid player. He can push the lane really well. He can farm very easily and still keep a safe distance if he's getting ganked or roamed on. He has good CC, great, we call skirmishing, like one-on-one. Like he can duel people out really well and has that powerful nuke. And then the focus fire, after getting buffed a million times in the last few patches, is finally at a point where people like it at level 6, and it's actually really good. Only costs that 75 mana, I believe at rank 1. And the other great thing about him is if your enemy mid leaves the lane and you're level 6, you can just push that tower so fast with focus fire. Get that creep wave, get maybe a catapult in there. You can take that down, easily sub 6 to 8 minutes, depending on how the other side is going. So I was playing him in that mid roll. You get that quick bottle in the phase, and then what really makes this build different than, because what I described so far is like, okay, Jay, that's pretty much a typical any mid hero ever. But then you go first item Oghanims on Wind Ranger. Now that can set a lot of people back in opinion here, because the Oghanims by itself, what it essentially does for Wind Ranger is it gives you the cooldown goes from 60 to 15 seconds, and normally you have damage reduction of 50, 40, 30. That goes down to 30, 15, 0 at the last rank. So at the last rank, 0 reduction when you're using your ultimate. You're attacking, bonus 500 attack speed, I guess it is. That's all. And that's it. Nothing too long for 20 seconds. So on whatever target you cast it on, therefore, if you, let's say you use on the tower, you attack the hero, you go back to the tower, you still have that buffed attack speed through that 20 seconds. So why he likes that so much, he said essentially it's the cooldown. That's the most important thing to him, is that having that on a 15-second cooldown compared to 60 gives you so much more to do in team fights. Obviously you got the shackle, the power shots. You're going to be using those throughout. But then with the 15 seconds, you can go on one target really hard, and then in that same fight, most likely, you'll be able to go hard on yet another target. It'll give you kind of like that 2 shots at different people. And it's so much burst damage if you're left alone just to keep right-clicking on people, even before your damage items. It is just really powerful.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. And the video, which we will be sure to link on the Facebook and also in the comments of the YouTube video, it starts off with Slasher getting black holed by Enigma and then ulted by Skywrath Mage. And then he's like, oh, I'm fine, because I had a point booster and an Ogre Club. He just walks away. He's like, well, that was fun. But no, I'm just gonna go back to the well real quick, and then I'll come back to this lane. Um, a tremendous amount of damage. CC, it held in place, and it's still able to get away. Not that that's always going to be your experience, but
Right.
clearly making a point right off the bat that hey, these extra stats are really important. They do actually add to what you're able to do in
Let
a
me
game.
just interrupt you right there. To add to that, yeah, compared, like you said, point booster or club, it's an extra what, few hundred health, couple hundred health. Your normal Wind Ranger first items, what are they? Would you say? I would say Orchid, Blink, or Force Staff. I would say that's pretty much your typical first. None of those are giving you health. You're not going to get tankier from any of those items. It's really just either mobility or enhanced damage. So, yeah, that's exactly why this build also is so dramatically different as you were describing.
Yeah, and if you go for the middle Wind Ranger build, like RTZ is using making popular on a stream, etc., you might go for the Maelstrom to help you farm faster.
Yes.
But what I really like about these videos, and it's all of them, it's not just the Wind Ranger video, it's that he goes into them and sort of goes, all right, this is what you might normally see, but this is what I do, this is why I do it. And, we range from, oh, you know what, I'll go Occam's first on Wind Ranger to, this is my carry Earthshaker, and you're going to hard farm, and then you're going to get Armlet. The great thing, though, is that even for those crazy builds, he kind of goes like, listen, everybody's going to be a little upset with you. Or they might, this is how you should go about it to make it most conducive for your team. Oh, I'm going to go do this. Please, if I can get some support, that'd be great. He has just an approach with these videos of, I'm genuinely trying to make this work. Let's do whatever it takes. This is the reason I'm doing it. And this is why I think this is a great alternative. I happened across a Reddit post about this, and people are going like, oh no, Maelstrom's just better. It's just, no, you just should do it. But the thing that you get out of the video, I think, is that it's not about this is better than the Maelstrom build. You go, this is an interesting alternative, and you get something different out of it. Like, for instance, increased damage against towers, the ability to follow up successful team fights with a dramatic ability to take the points on the map, whether it be Roshan or towers. It's just a really different animal, I think, than your typical Maelstrom build up.
Absolutely, and I actually didn't even get to the other core part besides Ognims is you go Daedalus right after. That is the essential core build there. So you're doing your 15-second focus fires on heroes or towers, and then now you're critting in that 500 plus attack speed for just tons of damage. I feel like there was this one fight where the analyst, whoever was doing the stats, was something like in that 1 second he did over 1,200 damage, and it was like, yep, that's the build for you right there. If you have that potential to just sit there, use your ult on one of their cores or even squishies, you're going to just burst them down within no time. And if you get to let in that shackle, I mean, you could set up your own kills just so easily at that point. So that is kind of the premise of it. And then he'll go later into either Blink, Force, Sheep, Blacking Bar, whatever he needs at that point. But that's the essential core of it. And I also love the way he approaches it. He's kind of off the beaten path. I'd say the Wind Ranger one isn't so out there compared to some of these other ones. Like Oghanims in any build on her just seems good. That's just a good item in general on this hero. Obviously, if you're a support Wind Ranger, you're probably not getting an Oghanims. But 9 times out of 10, it's not going to be a support Wind Ranger. So I'd say this is more falling in line with norms. But let's go into your first hero that you tried. I believe it was the Silencer.
Yes. So as mentioned, there are a bunch of different slasher builds, and I feel like if you go back, you think real hard, you've probably come across these, and maybe even if, because I actually remembered, you mentioned Silencer, which was the first one that I wanted to give a go, and it's like I actually remember people just randomly, all of a sudden, starting to do this. Had no idea why. I'm like, this is crazy, and this is actually how the video starts. Slash was like, one of my friends, he's in the 4K bracket, and he started doing this, and he told me to try it. I thought it was stupid, but I went for it, and it actually turns out to be pretty cool. And the Slasher Silencer build is actually based around going for the Shadow Blade into Scythe of Eyes for the Sheep Stick, starting off with some treads. And, he goes through the video, I think very similarly to the Wind Ranger video, where he goes, okay, you might expect Maelstrom. This is what I'm doing, and here's why. He goes, listen, Silencer, we talk about in pro games, goes for the Aghanim Scepter, he goes for the Refresher Orb. He's really just worried about trying to get that ultimate out there. I even mentioned something that, not so much recently, but a while ago, people go, oh yeah, Silencer should just sit in the fountain, because, it's so dangerous out there, he should just sit and wait, and drop the global, and then TP out, try to get to the fight that way. But really, you have to get global off. Mm-hmm. And what SLAHSER winds up going is, hey, if you go for the Shadow Blade build, you wind up giving yourself the damage and attack speed. He actually winds up skipping Curse of the Silent.
Yep.
He goes for Glaives and Last Word, maxing those two first. In the game I played, I had to max stats because I just played this in the wrong game, like everyone with blink daggers to jump on you and murder you instantly. But he goes, you can actually participate more, you can sneak up on people, you're able to get that first attack out, drop your global, last word somebody, you can lay out a tremendous amount of damage, you can have yourself some form of escape, and you know what, the great thing about Shadow Blade is if you're building it, then you're forcing the other team to have to react, to try to get the sentries, to try to get the dust, to get a gem that they wouldn't normally be getting. Mm-hmm. So it was really interesting. I liked it a lot. It felt pretty good. Like I said, I didn't get the most success with it, unfortunately.
Neither of our games, no.
No, but it was definitely something that, having played it, you go, this actually does have some potential. Right. I would say the only issue with it is, kind of being the build-up, and then it's almost sort of the inverse of the issue with Wind Ranger, where you go, oh, I have all these stats all of a sudden. Now with Silencer, you go, I'm trading all these stats to try to get damage, and, a potential escape. Is it really worth it? Maybe not in the meta currently, but I do think it is a neat alternative build if you're going, listen, I need to be able to just dunk on people all game. It's not necessarily about the dream globals. I want to make sure that I have consistent damage.
Well, the thing is with this build too, you get that Shadow Blade, and it says core items is the Hex, the Sheepstick, and if you do get that combo, the Shadow Blade into the Hex, in that period of time, a lot of silencers at that point in the game will be able to just kill a hero outright. Like, obviously, if it's like an axe or something, okay, maybe not. But that's giving that CC and all of that intelligence and all that damage, yeah, it's just it's a whole lot. And I've seen a lot of Hex silencers just late game crushing folks. And the Shadow Blade, like you said, it gives you that kind of that approach, that sneaky approach, or even the escape. And of course, later on in the game, Dust is so easy to have gem that item always falls off in the end, but. It is definitely an interesting, different way, like you said, because the Aghanim's Refresher has been the most common silencer build of late. But this is just a different approach. I did find it interesting, though, that he did max the Glaives over the Last Word. I thought the Last Word, like, since it's that big burst early game, that you'd almost want to invest the points earlier in that instead. But I mean, it's not like he waits too long. He maxes it right after. But it's just still, I found that part a little bit interesting in this build. I'd probably prefer the Last Word over the Glaive maxing, but that's just me.
Yeah, I wound up maxing the Last Word. I guess it's a matter of taste. Like I said, unfortunately, the opportunities that I had to play it was like, well, really what I need is to survive. Yeah. And, that's kind of the biggest issue that I had with going for this build. But, I feel like even if you just got something for some early health, even if you just, I guess sitting on a casual point booster kind of sucks. But if you were able to get something to make yourself a little bit more durable so that you could deal with having the Shadow Blade, get some early ganks with it. I think that's really what was great about this build is he goes, your normal silencer is going to play passive. Here's an option that is aggressive. And by the way, SLAHSER plays in the 6K bracket, so it's not like, some 3K pub is thrown out. Yeah.
What a BDLM.
Hey, man. We're going to get to the next one, which I actually was doing before I saw SLAHSER do it because I believed hard enough in the heart of the cards.
Yikes.
But the next one I guess I should just lead into is actually strange. I didn't do it exactly like this, right? Off-lane, Gyrocopter, Tranquil Boots, into Bracer and or Wraithband, into Yules.
the flying sandwich.
The flying sandwich.
Yeah, that's I what. Okay, so
Go ahead.
I like him off lane, but I like him off lane with a partner. Like, he's got obviously ridiculous burst damage. No denying that. You got the rocket barrage, you got the homing missile, which has only been buffed as of lately. Flat cannon's great for farming, sure, if you want him to be the hard carry, but I don't know. There's a reason Gyro's not really getting picked up in this meta. He's just not able to keep up with the damage output of these other carries that are currently in the game. Also, his range is lacking. Obviously, Flak in a team fight's going to do some nice spread damage, but at the end of the day, a troller sniper is going to definitely out damage you and just tear your team down. So I kind of like this other approach to him, the more like bursty, magic damagey, not worrying about auto attacking per se, but getting these other spells off. The Yules is phenomenal. Did you get into the other items? You said Yules, yeah. Getting the Yules item as a core makes perfect sense, and I've already advocated for Yules in this patch as it is. It's such a powerful item. I think I said on our return cast that like you just see it every game, at least one, if not probably two or three. It's just everywhere. And, in this guy's case in particular, you can set it up to give time for your missile to come to them. You can obviously use it to use the call down, time that right. Set up for your allies. I mean, it's got so much potential with him. And so I definitely understand. It's weird at first because you're like, whoa. Gyrocopter Yules. Wait a second. Isn't he like an agility attacker? That doesn't feel right. But you can't look at it that way. You've got to look at it for all it's worth. You're going to get the mana regen too, which the move speed, so you can get closer for those barrages and whatnot. I mean, it really came together, and I don't know. I enjoyed it, but how was the solo part of it when you were doing it? Did that feel a bit difficult?
I don't like the solo aspect. And I think even if you go to watch, SLAHSER actually did a commentated game playing as the gyrocopter, and from some of the parts I watched where it's like he's against a tri-lane, and part of what he says is like, oh, well, it's hard for supports to zone you out because once you get the tranquil boots, you just run up on them, you use the barrage, and it does so much damage. Rocket barrage just does so much damage against a single target that it's hard for them to try to contest you. But if you have somebody with decent range, you just from afar just lay on the autos. I got to play another game with an Abaddon. That was not as scary. But before I saw any of this, I was actually trying to convince people of the support gyrocopter, which I actually really like, to be honest with you. It's kind of a different animal, again, from some of his more classic renditions. But, the Tranquils are really nice for being able to help you run around, give you some damage. You have the potential that you're going to be just chasing people down with the Rocket Barrage. The Yules is also nice for that movement speed. And one of the things SLAHSER points out is, every single one of your spells needs some kind of setup. Homing Missile takes forever to get off the ground, get moving. Rocket Barrage, you need to be right on top of somebody. Your ultimate, if you can get both missiles to land, can be tremendous on even a single target. But how do you make that happen? Well, you make it happen with Yules. Also mentions that if you knock yourself up into the air with the Yule Scepter while you're rocket barraging, you do damage to people still with it. So, there's some interesting interaction there. I actually, when going support gyrocopter, would wind up doing something like the Aghanims, or Midas into an Ags. Just try to deal with the low mana pool, maybe get an Aquila first to give yourself some sort of mana regeneration. But
I like the Midas a lot on him.
Yeah, it's really nice, because even in playing, where I was predominantly the one farming, you're still like, I really wish I could get these items a little bit faster, because they do really help you get online, I feel like. But when you're playing like tri-lane support, you can just have somebody else, like a Rubik, set up your Rocket Barrage for you, set up your homing missile for you, and I think the burst potential out of that is really kind of outrageous.
I guess when I say I like the dual offlane, I should be more specific, because like you said, you were with this Abaddon, and I want a kill lane. I want you to be with, like you said, a Rubik, a Vengeful, a Lina, Lion, someone that's going to let you get in close, help you do that extra damage. A protective support there is not doing you that much good. It was okay, but I feel like there's just way more potential. You get someone else that helps you bully the other people, they're going to have a tough time with you. That's going to be a very strong duo lane. Even maybe something like an Undying to be with you. Just someone that's a real nasty bully and helps set up those kills. I was also at first a little upset with SLAHSER in this build. So I'm like, whoa, where's the Force Staff? I mean, I feel like, especially with the new, changes that you can use it on the homing missile, I'm a little upset that this seems like the build you'd put it in, right? And sure enough, I had to back off and give him a break because he posted this in October, and the patch came out in December. So this was pre-Force Staff homing missile. So you know what? All is forgiven. I'm sure if he were to edit this, he would totally throw it in there somewhere. But I don't know. Yule's Force Staff get all the mobility in the world. He's been a support too. So your idea definitely makes sense. There was, I don't remember what patch it was, but he was getting picked up as a support in an okay amount of games. And then all of a sudden people are like, no, we like him as an auto attack backer. And he auto attack. What the hell? Auto back? What the heck did I just say?
Also, soon to go on sale, J4Y's dictionary, full of words that no one understands without the dictionary.
I am wearing my Hawk on Sunday shirt, I'll have you know. So, great advertisement right there.
Perfect.
But yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I especially this meta, I feel like support / maybe offlane. I don't know. That's a little bit of a stretch, but I'm willing to try it. But I do like him more in that kind of less auto attack, more utility kind of role. I think he definitely does a really good job in that.
I'm trying to think of another great example, but I think when this hero gets that little bit of setup, that little bit of extra push, a Rubik, maybe you have a carry in your lane that can provide, a slow, maybe a small stun. Mm-hmm. It really does open doors. And, when you look at the previous patch logs, you see it's, homing missile getting buffed, call down gets buffed with an increased radius in 683. I feel like the spell kit is a really unique one. We had a really hard time doing a short episode on Gyrocopter because we were like, what is this hero? What are you supposed to do with him? Because there is just weird wonkety aspects to him. And, I actually would really like to personally just play more of the support, maybe even give the offlane a go, Gyrocopter. And even if you don't hit the Ags, hey, hit the Yules, hit the Force Staff. And because obviously Force Staff is a great item, and even if you get that synergy with your rocket, that's pretty cool as well.
He could even go mid too. He really could. I don't know. I don't love him there, but I could see it. I mean, he's got the lane push. He's got the harass on the enemy mid. The call down is. I mean, I don't know. I could see it. I'm just saying. I
think that's probably the toughest, but
it's probably
you might be able to get it. Depending on who you're against, you might be able to get it. Get one over
if
on.
I have a choice of Wind Ranger over that, though, I think you know who I'm picking.
Well, so. You're picking Shadowblade Silencer, I understand.
Oh, hell no. That is probably one thing I will never try. I'll leave that to you, bud. You get that one.
But that's, I think, what's so neat, because you have these builds. If you're able to break away from saying, well, this is what you have to do. This is the build because I saw it in a pro game, so this is what you have to do.
Right.
You get yourself into these really interesting situations where you start to sort of think about it here in a different way. And here's another great, for instance, Urn of Shadows on Spectre. SLAHSER may not have invented it, but made it popular, and it's shown up in pro games because you are going to be participating in kills around the map. You are going to make sure that you're there. You get that extra tankiness. You get a little bit of mana regen because you know what? More daggers. Why not? It's when you start sort of breaking away from just really static ideas, you really do get to find some interesting things out. And if you need yet another example, Armlet Earthshaker is hysterical to watch. It's great.
Anything. Armlet Dazzle, I don't know. Still might be my favorite Armlet thing I've seen when Dendy was playing that mid, but I don't know. Tough competition there, to say the least. But yeah, you guys should check him out, though. Remember, when you go Google him, it's SLAHSER, not actually SLAHSER the way you would think it is. But yeah, definitely go check out. You can check out his Steam profile. That's where I found all his guides. He's got a YouTube channel, like you said earlier. Plenty of ways to check him out, and I would definitely suggest it. Kind of set you out of the meta, and just have a little more fun at the game. Okay, really.
What?
Thanks. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to backtrack us now.
Okay.
I'm going back to the beginning here. Back to the app. where I want to give a nice little shout out to Philip Z. That's what I'm going to call him. He knows who he is. Posted a couple things, different articles on our Facebook page, facebook.com/DodeOnDemand. That one's not on DodeOnDemand.com. But he basically, the first one was about Na'Vi and about how DK Phobos flew away over to Aces Polar, and they're like, oh crap, now we're scrambling again. And guess who they got back? Well, I think you can guess. I hope so. Not Puppy.
No, it's close. Close,
Arts,
Artie?
Artie?
And our buddy Funnick.
Oh, man.
Which, if you guys tuned in to the MLG Pro League Season 1 finals, which I hope you did over the weekend. If not, we're going to be talking about it. So here's your early spoiler alert. Go watch the finals first. We got to see Funnick playing for Empire, which is pretty neat. So
did a great job. The Bat Rider's still alive, as far as I can tell. But that, honestly, when I saw those two players came back to Na'Vi, I was like, I think it was just our last episode, I'm like, I'm not excited about Na'Vi anymore. And, like, now I'm excited for Na'Vi again. Like, getting those players back is, like, kind of that consistency, that stability that I'm like, yes, that is a team I can relate to and that I think maybe has potential to start doing good things again. You know, obviously they're not the Titans that we once thought of them as, but you know, they're not bad. And actually, recently, they're starting to boot camp again, which is just phenomenal news, meaning they're going to try for a tournament.
You know what I was going to say? Na'Vi, I've come to realize that Na'Vi is like that ex that you still really like, you're still attracted to, but they just don't treat you right, so you don't know what to do, and you find yourself going back. It's just like, I love you guys. I love following Na'Vi. You know, you have 1.5 million changes now, so it's hard to follow. You guys never practice, but you know what? Maybe if you just got your together, I could enjoy watching you play and you know, fanboy appropriately.
It's usually just heartbreak at this point. So
it is heartbreak at this point. You know, fingers crossed. I'd like to see some good things, but you know, I'm doing the responsible thing. I'm staying away. I'm gonna wait until I see some results first.
Yeah.
But you know, you figure a lot of the talk, even with the JD MLG Pro League Season 1, was like, hey, this is probably your last opportunity to try to, you know, show what you're made of, get your name out there, show Valve that you deserve a direct invitation. You know, it might be too late for Na'Vi to get a direct invite. I mean, that would seem kind of weird, an international without Na'Vi, but you know, really, at this point, can you say that they deserve something?
That's what it is. It's like that was like a franchise, but now it's not the same. It's not the same Na'Vi anymore. So it's like, yeah, I agree with you. It's weird to see that team name missing, perhaps, but in the same regard, it's not the same Na'Vi. So yeah, it's kind of one of those things where you just have to kind of let that go, essentially, at this point. But this can kind of lead us into the new question of the week. So I'll ask you. You know what? Do you want to just say the question of the week? I was going to basically, what I wanted to ask you, I guess, was of the current teams that we're kind of following and watching in these recent tournaments and stuff, who are you fanboying the most right now?
Fanboying the most? My heart still bleeds blue deep down inside. I really enjoyed seeing EG play. I liked seeing how far they got. I felt like they actually got a bit out. I was surprised by them getting a little bit outclassed in the finals of the MLG Pro League. But I do really, I think deep down in my heart of hearts, I do like them a lot. I do like that with having Sumail instead of Arteezy and having Aoi instead of Zai, we're still left with the same identity. You know, we were talking, you know, not too long ago about, oh, it's so hard to try to get into Dota 2 the same way because some of these teams, they just switch up so often, it's hard to tell who they are. You know, you go and you look at Game 3 of the finals, and you have just Type A, like, best case EG. Like, that is exactly what you'd expect out of them. Omni Knight, Storm Spirit. You know, Sumail really does fit exactly the role that Arteezy was playing, and Aoi is just, you know, a pretty crazy, out of left field, does things you might not expect out of him, support kind of in the way that Zai was. I feel like Zai was just a jack of all trades and like, oh, you want me to be a support anti-mage? Well,
what was someone saying in the tour? It was like, Aoi is seriously more like a 2 than he is a 4. Like, he's just, you just every game you see him with a core item by 20 minutes in. It's like, how the heck did he get that room for farm? But that's just how they operate with him on the team. He always finds room for farm. They give it to him. They pick these heroes that can get in the jungle, and they do a really good job. I was gonna say my North American, I'm with EG2. Like that is my team as well. I have to say, I've always kind of liked Cloud9, like from a distance. It's like I want to wrap my arms around them, but at the same time, it's like they're just so inconsistent. It's mostly EE's fault that, you know, he's a great smart player. No, he really is. But at the same time, it's like it's so hard to get behind the team and then like see them do the throws like half the time. So, and also Sing Sing, who was one of my favorite players, when he left the roster, it was just like I already lost a bit of my heart there too. So EG, I'm a huge fan of PPD. You know, I give that man so much respect for being especially with Owie on the team. He's like a 6 or 7 role. You know, he's not even a 5. He might get boots in a 30-minute game. I don't know if he's having a good day, but it's like that guy just does it all and does it with a smile on his face because he's leading his team, and that's what he truly cares about. It's actually kind of funny to watch his streams if you ever have sometimes, because it's like he's just like it's like almost a sarcastic, trying to be positive for his teams. He's like, team, we gotta stay positive, and they're like 0-15. It's like, come on guys, we can do this. Like, it's like, you know, he doesn't care and has no faith in them, but he's like still trying to just pretend like it's gonna be all right at the end. So but I don't know, I'm kind of getting drawn back to IG. Is that weird? I'm loving the IG recently. They just now obviously they're not right now in the Summit 3, which is going to lead to a different little. Look how we're just connecting the dots here. It's been pretty smooth, but in the end, I don't know. They kind of still have some of that unity. What I was kind of talking about with Navi of old days, like they've got the Schwan. They got a couple players who have been around and have that connection, that synergy. And I don't know, they always seem to. I don't know. Schwan has always kind of been one of my favorite supports too, and not just because he's a crazy guy who like is gonna throw the Aegis off the thing and just shout, but he's a passionate player, and I think he's really good too. So I don't know. I think of the Eastern side, I kind of really like IG a lot.
You know who I actually really like out of the East?
Who's that?
Now, MVP. Getting to see them, I had the feels for them. They did a really exceptional job, you know, fighting through at MLG Pro League. They wind up getting eliminated by EG. But you could just tell, man, that they had poured their hearts and souls into being there. You know, just the hung heads at the computers, having lost, you know, just trying to pack everything up. You know, it was really tough. And I have to say that I want to kind of very broadly talk about the MLG Pro League, because this was an event that I felt really got me back into the feels. Like, you know, we're talking about it. I'm just like remembering all these times I'm sitting at my computer watching it. Like at one point I was just yelling like, Peter Dagger! He did something just stupid in one of the games. It was great. And, you know, like getting really excited for people, getting excited for the team that was putting on the event. And then again, you know, just like getting hit in the feels, like, oh man, watching the drafts. And, you know, a really great thing that, you know, going back to last week when we're talking about like, man, companies might just start to phase out doing lands because they're too expensive and blah, blah, blah. There was a point in the game, in a game with Empire, where Silent is messing with the crowd, where he's like mousing over Huskar, and everybody goes, oh, and he's like, oh, no, what about Huskar? No, okay. I still have 50 seconds to do this, people. And so, and it was nice. Like, you could see, like, Silent couldn't keep a smile off his face. Like, clearly that interaction was, you know, it's important. And it's something that I'm glad that, you know, we even as viewers sitting at home, we got to appreciate. And
it's why the LAN scene's so important.
Yeah.
Like, it's got to have that culture. Interaction still, you know?
It had a hot Mirana. Ooh. So, you know, got to keep that alive.
Oh, yes. How about any hot Crystal Maidens? Can't go away from your bay.
Crystal Maiden. I want to say there was a Crystal Maiden.
Oh, of course. There has to always be one. A Wind Ranger and a Crystal Maiden at all events. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But what do we want to get into here?
I'm gonna get your opinion of the Join Dota MLG Pro League Season 1 Finals in general.
Mm-hmm.
Did you aside from the teams that were competing, how did you feel about the event in general? Do you have any general feelings? Do you feel any more?
I feel feelings, actually.
Mm-hmm.
I do.
Oh, that's good. I think that's what you're supposed to do.
I was watching a game. I was on the phone with my fiance. Go figure. I thought you were going to say there. But I control myself sometimes. But and I was also watching. It was an EG match. I can't remember who they're playing. But essentially, Subail got this just nasty, like, 4-3-4 man RP off. And it was just like, I just slammed my desk with my fist. I was like, yeah! And she's like, what just happened? And I'm like, there's no point in it. There's no
and then I went and I picked up my dry cleaning, and then I went and I picked up lunch, and you're just
God,
like,
I hope she watches this
like,
episode so you feel the wrath later.
I will.
But yeah. No, you're probably safe though. But yeah, for real, it was. But it was just like, yeah, I really felt the energy, and I feed off crowds. Like, I think I've told you in the past, like, I could watch like probably any. Well, I'm not gonna say anything. It's not gonna be like a cricket game, and I'm gonna feel the crowd or something. But like,
now the third round of badminton.
Smith serve. Oh my gosh, he hits it over the net. Okay, but like
the fan goes wild.
But yeah, for real, it's like you feed off that energy, and it was ever since that TI2, which is why eventually, dear God, one of these days, when we get money and we get time, we are going back. I know you already did, but I need to make my Mecca trip. But yeah, it's just you get those feels like you're talking about, and I did. I got a lot of those off some of these games, and the grand final was also just so worth. It was so good. It was just rewarding to be a part of experiencing that. Like, you know, it was a nice even battle, and you could tell both teams like deserve to be there. You know, and that's when you have a good grand final. Like, I know it's not like the end of the world. Like, obviously TI4 was like, oh, QQ. I shouldn't bring it up. There's still a lot of sore feelings about that.
There was 3, and then now there's 5. That's, I don't know.
Something. They took a year off. I can't remember. Biggest prize pool ever, but whatever. But yeah. But no, it was just really thrilling. The casting was great. I give Toby respect. He for being out of touch with Dota for. That'd be so mean if I said something else here. But for being out of touch, at least for recently with his Counter-Strike exploits and whatnot, still with him and Kappa and Blitz. Blitz was my favorite part of the casting. I loved him. He needs to get more involved with casting because he's just hilarious. Like, he just brought this side of it that was really funny, but also so knowledgeable at the same time. Mm-hmm. Especially when Storm Spirit was in the game, which that guy's in this meta a lot. He made that comment. It was something like he was talking about how his mom he hadn't talked to in like months because she was upset with him. And it's like, she Skype messaged me and said, like, you need to like talk more than just about Storm Spirit. It was just like, that's all you know and talk about. And it was just like this mean, rough comment.
I remember one of them, it was like, no, I think that might have been what his girlfriend said or something, and his mom was like, it's a good thing Storm Spirit's in the game, or else you wouldn't have a job.
Oh my God, they were both cruel to him, the poor guy. But thankfully, Storm Spirit's very prevalent. So hey, he's got a job. He's good to go. But no,
EG will give him a job.
There you go. He's got to stick with them, be their full-time caster. But no, it was really enjoyable to see him. And then the desk. I think you want to mention about Nahaz coming in here.
I did. Here's my step back, and from afar, here we go. Nahaz was awesome. Love Nahaz. He had great
hair
stats. His hair was amazing. I loved his insight. He gave you some unique stats. He fed some stats, not via the like little side pop out stats, but through the headsets, just something like, hey, I just want you to know. This is like a top 10% Earth Spirit performance. This is something we haven't seen before. Sort of characterizing people differently. He was like, I think Universe probably statistically is the best player in Dota. Mm-hmm. Stuff like that. Talking about NIP and how they are ninjas in pajamas. That is, how they are like the only team that utilizes Luna, but they use it really well. Mm-hmm. And a lot of that kind of insight I really appreciated, and I really I guess my opinion of Nahaz, not that I had like a bad one, he was just like, oh, okay, it's Nahaz. But I actually am really now looking forward to seeing Nahaz in the future. Toby, on the other hand, I will say you could sort of feel was out of touch, or he had a lot of times where he was like, people were like, yeah, but no, seriously, this is maybe a more accurate view of what's going on.
Kappa even said on stream at one point that maybe he should consider staying with CS:GO. On stream, it was like, ouch, sick
Toby
burn.
definitely did accidentally misclick off of a fight in the middle of it, I think, and then it's okay. It's okay because we're only human, and we too have accidentally blimp viewed someone farming.
Accidentally, that was on purpose. Don't worry about that. But no, it was a great tournament. They had a great group of people.
So he hosted pretty well.
Yeah.
I also want to say, here's what I also appreciated. Right, we go back to what we were talking about last episode. Vlad's like, oh, people throw their stream to music and then they play ads, and then there's really a lack of production value. I felt like they did a really great job. Mm-hmm. They did throw to rankings and music once in a blue, but overall they kept content going, even to the point where Not Today actually had to forfeit their first match, and they had to throw their luggage down on the stage and sit down in chairs and play their second game. But during that time, instead of just making I guess it was filler content, but instead of just letting the music play, taking a potty break, getting a Twinkie, they actually wound up getting, I want to say it was March, someone from one of the previous games out onto the stage to sort of go through the game, highlight some of the extra points. So you really were getting something, even though the event might have become delayed or had a time gap in there, which I really appreciated because canceled flights you really can't do anything about. So you get in there a little bit early. But anyway, it was nice to see that on the fly they were still very concerned with getting a quality cast, a quality event out there. And I definitely did feel like it lived up to what I expect out of a LAN event. Like I said, got me excited.
It's good that MLG is back in the Dota 2 scene. I think that's also very important. It's I don't remember how long of a break it was, but it definitely it was good to see them back. And I agree, the production value was nice. Like I said, I liked everything about the event, frankly. And there was no loud G2A advertisements, which have blown out my eardrums. If anyone on the cast has ever heard those between other tournaments or different games, they can be a little droll sometimes. But nonetheless, I don't know. The whole event was great. I don't know how in depth you want to get about these games. I know we've already been going for a while, and we got more to go through here. But I do have a couple points. Maybe you want to go back and forth on.
Okay, I also have one as well.
Oh, well, then
this is just the cast
start. Feel free.
I should have mentioned this earlier, but we were talking about teams and who we were excited about.
Yes.
I think maybe that's part of the reason that I like this event so much is because when we were getting down to the final, 4 or so teams, every single one of them I feel like I had some sort of investment in. Silent drafted the finals like a freaking madman. Like, he just had the answer, period. And it just really, the third game especially, you're just like, yep, that was great. Winds up grabbing the Disruptor, of course, against the Storm Spirit. Already showed that was a great answer to the Storm Spirit earlier on in the tournament. But you wind up getting on the last pick. Silent pulls a Razor out of his pocket to go up against a Faceless Void that I would have assumed would have gone on the Universe, but Clockwork was picked up, so right. Fear actually wound up taking the helm for the Faceless Void. But obviously he's a pro player, is aware of the changes in the meta, knows that Razor is really good against Faceless Void, but just to be like, oh yeah, Razor. And then you just realize you guys just got hard countered.
Did they really bring that back though? Oh, painful.
Yeah,
I know you like Razor, but oh god.
And Razor goes for a Diffusal as well. So, they're lacking that sort of natural Diffusal carrier, and that was just the 2-for-1 combo. Yeah. And you saw, I remember specifically a fight middle where Storm Spirit's in the Disruptor ultimate. He's got Repel on though, but it's boom, you're dead. Repel gone. And, how are you supposed to come back from that when your 2 cores are so perfectly countered by the choices by Silent. I was like blown away by that. And then the actual point I wanted to make, I didn't even realize I was gonna go fanboy for Empire. Aside from the fact, by the way, that they played with Funnick stand-in, even though they're friends, whatever, they made it work. You look at some of the ways that they were positioned against the black hole, like I think the very last black hole that Fear threw out, Empire's just in this perfect concave, like just making sure that no two people would get clipped. Anyway, the other team to mention, Ninjas in Pajamas, who I had the feels for because it was just about this time last year where we have Fnatic who go, yeah, we're not going to take Era. We don't want to take him. He has issues. Yeah, we know he wants to play, but we're not going to do it. You know, they try to get their Excalibur in. They pull him from the stone. And I just, having watched Era and Han too, like getting to see him with a new team, one that's playing very competitively, and again, to go with Nahaza's stats where he's just like, he is making Luna work. This team is making Luna work. He's showing himself to be, you know, the carry that I think we all have sort of, known him to be, you know, maybe most famously for Tiny. But it was really great to see him on top of his game and showing that, you know, he is every bit the player that he has sort of always been and is competitive and can continue on past whatever difficulties he was facing last year. So I really loved that, and I was just fanboy Nip for Era alone.
I don't even know where to go with what you just said.
You
jumped all over a lot of love, a lot of fanboy. I'm going to just get into the finals, though. I agree with everything you said.
Good.
In fact, I've always... What are you wrong? But, no, but, you know, I do actually like Era, just to kind of come off that. It did feel a little strange about their... some of the disregard, some of the dislike that he got before TI4 and everything. But he is obviously a strong player. One of the strongest Lunas I've ever seen in the game. And, he definitely comes out as a great player. And, you know, everyone may say, oh, Han trash, but that's just a dirty word and not accurate. He's seriously is a good player. So, back into what I want to get into, because I'm just going to shift it back the ball's back in my court. Oh. I had a couple things that I found interesting, and I'm going to just get little quick responses, aka 10 minutes from you, probably.
Yes.
So my first notes it was 3 games played. All 3 games, EG bans Troll Bat.
Mm-hmm.
Troll, obviously, because this made
the sign, because of the sign in the crowd. So you have to obey the crowd.
You have to, and then Bat for Funnick. So, what are your thoughts on those bans? Way to go.
Funnick Bat, weird. Kind of cool that, again, as a stand-in, I understand that it's not like he's like standing in for some really random team. Like, he's familiar with these people. He knows them. They know him. Kind of cool that he demands a respect ban. And, that's always kind of nice. Seeing him back on Na'Vi, that, I guess obviously you have a player that demands respect through that stage of the game. What was the other part? I didn't pay attention.
No, it's just Funnick Troll and
Troll. Yes, I was glad to see as little of Trolls we did. Unfortunately, I saw more Sniper than I wanted to, and I actually think some of my favorite games from the tournament included neither of them.
Mm-hmm.
So
that was actually going to be you're kind of leading me into my next one, which was the first game. Sniper did not get picked or banned, but that is because Empire came in with their IO Tiny strategy. They had that. That was their mindset. Their first 2 picks were IO Tiny, led into a Dazzle, Brew, and Spirit Breaker. But therefore, the Sniper was kind of necessary. EG, though, because they're banning Troll Bat, are leaving Sniper on the table depending on how Empire wanted to go about their picking and banning. So the next 2 games, Empire is allowed to first pick Sniper both times. They actually get first pick. And I'm not sure if EG actually runs a lot of Sniper. I can't say I've been paying attention about their Sniper picks, but I know PPD, he was actually getting compared to Puppy in TI2, where he was essentially just kind of ignoring one of the most popular heroes in the meta and just saying, not ignoring, but saying, okay, I'm not going to ban him because I am going to instead let you pick him, and then my next 2 picks are going to counter that pick. And essentially, that's what he did. The second game, Sniper was first picked. He picked Clock into Skywrath. That combination is devastating. Hook in, Skywrath ult, Sniper's going to blow up, or whoever they get. But, obviously that can be really effective with him. Game 3, Sniper first pick. They go Clock, Storm Spirit. Clock once again jumps. Storm Spirit once again jumps. So it's kind of PPD's, I guess, train of thought was, I'm not afraid of the Sniper because I feel like we can play these heroes really well and counter that pick. So obviously games 2 and 3 did not work out that way, but did you kind of agree with his train of thought?
I think that based off of what they were picking, it worked out. I mean, like game 2, when you saw Funnick and Aloha dance, Treant Protector and the Phoenix in the top lane, they were able to actually be really effective together. I mean, the Phoenix Treant Protector, I mean, it's not like a new thing, but actually seeing them lane together, I feel like it's something that I haven't observed a ton. Like, you normally just like, oh, well, I'll just give you the shield and you'll be fine, but I'll be in the safe lane. They were actually, despite the fact that the records wound up pretty lackluster, I thought they were able to apply a lot of early pressure, and I think you can see that in Fear's 5-7-21 record by the end of the game on the Spectre. Right. And, that's another thing, too, with this game. You have the Spectre, so you go, okay, well, we're going to get in on Sniper. That's fine. The game 3, like I said, if you have the Faceless Void, the Chrono, it gets on a couple, great, then you're going to maybe be able to lay in some shots on Resolution, who's playing the Sniper.
Well, it was the Witch Doctor Faceless, too. They kind of wanted that combo to work, too.
Yeah, but you never really got that, like, the dream bubble, Right. And not against Fear's Faceless Void at all, but just having known and seen so much out of Universe, super high level, just making the 2-3-man Chronos happen, even, on the grand stage of the International, I would have been curious to see what it would look like with Universe playing the Faceless Void and then somebody else for Fear. I know Juggernaut was banned out in this game.
Yeah.
Who
he was actually one of the first 2 for Empire. Yeah.
Yeah, who Fear has been just sick on the Juggernaut. I really do think though that for trying to outdraft that, like Silent, especially in this last game, was just he had the perfect answers. And it's like, really, what are you supposed to do? I mean, I think that you're going up against EG. Omni Knight, Storm Spirit, something that's probably going to happen.
Yeah.
The Faceless Void's probably going to happen. He really just have the perfect answer ready to go. And, you can't really... I don't knock PPD for trying to leave Sniper and dealing with it. I just...
Let's just say it's like 0-3 if you compare it to Puppy's strategy. So, anyways, Bonk actually said in the chat that Bat is like a top 3 pick and ban, so not necessarily respect ban. I can get behind that, but I think it's a combination. I think, yes, he's a popular hero, but Funnick is going to handle that hero like a champ. So, like, yeah, you're not even considering letting that hero stay in the game, especially if you are going to go a hero, let's say, like Tiny, like Sniper, like someone who you're, like, really hoping that he's going to carry you through the game. If you get that pick off against you, that Bat Rider can be just devastating. So, but back to this one I actually think is a respect ban. Empire bans Chen first, all 3 games. Owie, a little hate there?
Hey, man. Chen is just silly right now.
He is a good hero, too. And you know what? Maybe he's one of the top bans, too. But I have to believe that has definitely a lot to do with Owie playing that character.
It is entirely possible. Man, that Granite Golem, though.
Oh, my God, I know. That is sick. That was definitely a really nice buff to just Chen. Let's put it out there. Just Chen. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I don't know. I thought that was kind of interesting too. They just said, "Nope, no Chen for you guys all 3 games." That's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
Another thing I wanted to talk about. This is something.
Skipping one.
I'm skipping. What am I skipping?
Not skipping, but there's one that I'm just like waiting for you to mention.
Talk about a pick.
Yes. Do it. I dare you. Double dog.
Oh yeah. How about the Undying BDLM? What do you think about this hero?
Oh, I had forgotten he was picked in these games. I think this is really interesting, right? It's kind of nice when you see like what you would not a dead meta, but one that's like pretty set in stone. You have your top picks or whatever, and then you seem to get to the upper echelons of tournaments and whatnot, and you go, "Oh, wasn't that neat?" And I think the Undying was that pick for some of these games. The first game I thought was great between these 2 teams. Mm-hmm. You wind up having just a super aggressive Empire lineup that is just really about getting up in your face, trying to make kills happen. But you also wind up having the pick of an Undying by EG, and it's really like a much slower team fight oriented, no fun zone. You just drop the tombstone, and then they deal with it. And the great thing was, is I felt like Undying, while it didn't do anything that was just so standout amazing that you go like, oh my god, why haven't people been using this here the whole time? For someone you never see to come up and just really fit well into what was going on, I thought was really nice. Really just able to tank up, be in people's spaces, lay down the tombstone. Toby's co-caster, who I want to say was March for this game, says for Fight Melee, he's like, oh, that was tombstone. That tombstone doing work. Like, that's hero, that spell that we don't really get to see that often, is contributing in a really major way in this meta. I thought was really nice. And, something else that was mentioned throughout the tournament is like, oh, yeah, mech, it's no longer a major item in this meta, blah, blah, blah. Well, here you go. You pick up the Undying. You're able to get that mech, get that tank ability. You're able to use this as a innate kit to not only get tankier, but then to make people more vulnerable, which is also, I feel like, kind of a theme of this meta. It was really nice to see and refreshing to see that pick up.
No, it was kind of nice. Like you said, he's not a playmaker, if you will. He's not going to be the black hole for your team. He's not going to do that thing that you're just so shocked about. But he is going to. He is the biggest one of the biggest bullies I can think of in laning phase. Who can really stand up to a hero like that? It's very tough. He was ran against that in that lineup against a Dazzle and a Brewmaster. And the Brewmaster, of course, any strength here against Undying, you're already like a little bit screwed, because he's going to not only steal your health, but now he's stealing part of your damage. And you're just starting to really struggle with that laning phase. But Howie is just so confident. He's one of the supports I love, because he can take that hero to its limit. You know what I mean? Like, he knows what he's capable of. He was definitely pushing some boundaries. Like, I'm like, dude, why are you so far out there against, like, 2v1? Like, the rest of his team's, like, back at the creep wave. He's, like, in the face of Brew and Dazzle, just like, what's up, guys? I'm here to fight. And, like, knew that he could do that to them, and the power of his hero and how to play it. So it was really something impressive. And, I mean, like you said, like, late game, everyone kind of knows Undying more or less just kind of starts falling off. He's not that big boy. The tombstone gets taken out really quickly, I should say. And, I kind of liked him in this lineup, though, too, even in the later parts of the game, because their team was like AoE City. You had the Magnus, the Juggernaut with Empower, and Quap, right? Huge AoE damage. Put an Undying ult next to that, those people are going to melt that much faster. And, so I really feel like he's still kind of scaled his team throughout the game, despite himself not being all of that in the late game.
Yeah, and I mean, I think there were several times where you go like, oh, I was going to die. Oh, nope, he's fine. He soul ripped, or, he decayed. He's keeping himself up there. And, just that tank ability, that ability to soak, and then to go for items that you might not normally see. And even when you go to Game 3, you have Aloha Dance, who winds up going for Radavatos. So, sure, there are other supports that could have picked that up, or maybe he could have gone for, a mech if he wanted to. But just switching up the heroes that are able to get different sets of items into your game. I thought what was great about it was it really felt so natural. It felt like that hero's just been here the whole time. These people have been playing with it. And I hope we see more of Undying in this meta, to be honest.
Unlikely, but I agree. It would be cool. And other heroes, too. Big
problem, troll ult. Just destroy the tombstone, and then do you really have left? But
Tombstone's a really big part of his team fight, let's be honest. I mean, he's got the nice heal to support his teammates. Like I said, the ult, it's not only like... It's almost like a taunt in a way, too. Because people are like, oh, look at the big Undying in the middle of my team. Let's go kill him. It kind of... Like, I remember there was this one fight where, like, it broke out in the forest. And, like, they were just trying to gank him so hard and kill him. And the rest of EG just kind of collapsed around. And they spent so much time... And they didn't even kill him. They got him low. But then, Magnus was able to come in a good position. And just RP, they just wiped him out. And it was just like a great thing about Dying is he's kind of that tanky hero for you that can also, like, help you transition the fight into your favor more or less. So I don't know. I really enjoyed it. This was an interesting game for me too because I've really liked Tiny against a hero like Juggernaut for craggy exteriors. My main reason. I feel like there was a couple fights where you'd see just like Juggernaut go up to attack and just like stun, stun, like just constantly, not getting that attack off, and it did feel pretty powerful. But at the same regard, like I don't know, it just was a really well played game on both sides, and I enjoyed the game one extreme amount. So, that was the last point I wanted to make too. By the way, we've seen it, I feel like a lot more recently, especially. How do you feel about Juggernaut with Magnus as a combo on the team?
It makes a lot of sense. Let's just go beyond the empower. Being able to add the cleave damage and just the bonus damage that you're going to be stacking on top of the Mask of Madness. Just able to push out a lot of damage. Even just go to simple things like RP and just the ability to spin on people or get the heroes together and then drop the Omni Slash. It's a really strong combination. I like it a lot. And I think even if you are going for, one of your stats-based items, that Empower just becomes super potent. It really is like, it allows you to afford getting the stats and the more defensive items because you're just able to depend on that for your team fights. So it was really cool seeing Magnus picked up. I mean, it was mentioned too that Sumail really hasn't had a whole lot of time in the spotlight with Magnus, but he really was actually able to make some pretty good plays throughout the games.
Yeah, he kind of started winning over my heart a bit this tournament. I mean, he's a very young player, very good, but obviously he's not like your elite middles yet. He's getting there though. You can tell, and it's maybe more of an investment for them at this point. They're like, okay, this year might have some misses. Like I saw a couple plays on the Storm Spirit. I think Blitz was commenting on like, he could have gotten away from that situation if he did this or that. Like, of course he's not like perfect yet, but he's definitely made some amazing plays. The Storm is something to be reckoned with. His Magnus, I couldn't tell that you say he's inexperienced, I couldn't tell. I feel like he was making some great plays that game. And it just, I don't know, he seemed to really kind of take control of that middle and the other lanes and just really make such a huge impact for his team. So I was really enjoying seeing them all play as this. This is, kind of going back on the EG, falling apart, whatever, with Arteezy leaving, Zai leaving. I was so sad, right? But now with these new replacements, honestly, I hate to say it, I might like this team more. I think I do. I think I might like this team more than EG of last year. So, I don't know. I guess a personal opinion. I'm sure a lot of people don't agree with me.
One thing is for certain, probably will not see any Midas Alchemists out of the new mid.
Or Midas TAs when you're getting pushed in your base.
Wasn't he Alchemist for that game?
He was TA.
TA.
It's okay, though. I guess that was the joke you were trying to make. But yes,
it was the one I was going for.
That's
Thank you.
Fine. No, it's no problem. I had to show you up. Somehow I knew something more than you. It's a rarity these days, but hey, that's okay. I'll take what I can get. Does Magnus lane with Jug from the chat with Powerhouse? No, that's not the intention. The Magnus will be your middle hero, similar to how Sumail did. Got the levels. The Juggernaut will just get a lot of farm. But then that late game, we're kind of talking about that combination where really if you to get the Empower going, if you get a nice 2-3+ man RP with a empowered Juggernaut with that Mask of Madness, he's just going to tear through the team in a matter of seconds. Like, it's just devastating. Now, of course, we've also seen Magnus troll, so it's a similar idea where you're going to have this really fast attacking, hard hitting hero that's empowered, and it just does wonders. So that's kind of the combination we're talking about here.
Yeah, once you start grouping up, those ults come online. You're pushing that like level 10, 11. You can depend on having that extra damage, and you figure by that time, okay, you have your Mask of Madness. You're sitting on your second item, which might be your Manta, might be your Scotty. Just having that extra amount of damage to go on the durability and whatever utility you're getting out of that item. Those items is, I think, it's just really nice. Like you said, it works well for Troll as well. So it's cool to see Magnus even pop up, despite the fact that at one point in time he too was cancer. Yes.
Bonk is saying I'm wrong and that it was Alchemist.
Yes.
To be fair, I did not attend that international, but you know, well, okay, it felt like I was talking the right thing. Did he not play TA at some point in that tournament?
Bro, that's not what's up for debate, Jay.
You know,
It was a valiant attempt.
Whatever, man. I need to ban this Bonk guy from the chat. He's spamming or something. I don't like what he's trying to say. Terrible. Here. Anyways, but those were my main things. I really enjoyed. Everyone should definitely go watch these games. It was a close, like we said, 2-1 grand final. Definitely also try to watch the MVP versus EG games, despite it being a 2-0 sweep. Like BM was saying, it was still like fun to watch, exciting. Like they weren't just steamrolled over by any means. Mm-hmm. They put up a great fight, and kind of gives me hope once again that maybe the Korean scene can kind of keep coming back into it. I mean, when they came in for the previous international, it was like, they're really not maybe at the same level necessarily. They're not quite there yet, but giving them more time, getting more players involved, building that scene, I think we're going to start seeing even that much more Southeast Asian devastation. Is that what we need? Oh. Maybe not. I mean, that sounded really beautiful the way I just presented that. Phrase. Very poetic. I think
TM. We're putting it on there. Stamp it.
If you can remember that phrase, it's going to be the title of this episode. But yeah, no, I definitely was. I'm liking seeing them come back in more. Hopefully, our North American brethren can also give us a little bit of a show and a little bit of running for the international. But we haven't said it yet. Do you want to now present the question of the week to our lovely folks? Did you? Can you repeat it?
Sure. Of the teams that we've mentioned here that competed in the JD MLG Pro League Season 1 Finals, who are you most hyped about for UTI 5? Or, who do you think should get directly invited out of these teams? Who's most deserving of it? I really think, MVP is a team that recently shuffled a couple players, and I'm really glad to, 1, have seen them, 2, seen them play well, and 3, see them get to decently far in the finals of a tournament that is so close to international, because I definitely want to see them, their brand, in the international again, and to have a bit of success, because I think it is important. Even talk about America right now. We have our hope. It is the EG, and just to get more representation from different areas of the world to try to get them excited about Dota, and to try to get more teams out of these areas, I think would be fantastic. So drop by dotaondemand.com and you can participate in the vote there. While you're there, go ahead and give that article a read. Let's talk improvement tracking improvements. We still haven't gotten to the question of the week from last week and touching on that again.
Oh my goodness.
This has been a crazy backwards episode.
What a great episode. No, it's all over the place.
Down is left. It's ridiculous. The question of the week last week was actually, who do you think is responsible for maintaining, progressing the professional scene in Dota 2? Fairly unanimously, Valve wins. People seem to think that Valve should be the ones responsible for this. I agree. Erica stopped by the Facebook and said, I think it's tournament organizers, even though I kind of I want to say Valve. I still feel like it's tournament organizers. Jay, I'm about to drop some research.
Uh-oh. Here we go.
I was curious.
It was
a couple days ago. No. Nice try. A couple days ago, I'm like, esports, they're different. But, of course there have been sports that have cropped up previously, come from nothing, and they've aligned themselves in such a way that now they're sort of staples and these huge things that you can't expect to vanish off the face of the earth anytime soon. So I'm like, let's go look at some major sports and see how they actually came together. What was it that pushed them into being what they are today? So FIFA, go for your soccer, your football. It's national associations and clubs decide to get together to host this one major tournament. Major League Baseball, popular in the States, second only to bald eagle petting as a national pastime, wind up springing up after sort of the first official team is made. Leagues wind up merging, but what I thought was really interesting in my Wikipediaing of this Direct quote, the first few decades of professional baseball were characterized by rivalries between leagues and by players who often jumped from one team to another. Huh. Strange. But then you go to another mainstream American sport in the NFL for American football, where it is actually four teams who end up getting together at a conference and decide to sort of make a league of their own that, quote, was intended to raise the standard of professional football in every way possible, to eliminate bidding for players between rival clubs, and to secure cooperation in the formation of schedules. So I think it's really neat to see that in these other real sports, these mainstream sports that have already been established previously, the same problems that we're now finding in the new fledgling esports. And I guess that there isn't one answer. I mean, you see in one case it's teams, another instance it's leagues that come together. And, FIFA almost seems more of like, well, we have this sort of going off in section groups. Let's make one big tournament. Maybe you can sort of relate that to the international and then just have sort of everything else shake out from there. Mm-hmm. I guess it's a little bit different because you say the international is just so far it's almost an outlier on the
it's unrealistic
spectrum. That sort of everything else can't even sort of come close to building up around it, which is kind of what I was saying last week. Well, maybe you just have some real general guidelines like, hey, we need tournament organizers to fill these spots, and then that'll mean something for the international. I don't know, Jay. What do you have you given it any more thought? Have you come to a final conclusion?
Russians are still crazy.
Yeah, well, no, that's not the question. Oh. That is known. It is known.
That's just a fact of life at this point. Mm-hmm. I mean, I wanted to say Valve just because it's kind of their baby. Like, they've brought it into the world, and I feel like it's their job to really start. I'm almost going to start comparing it to like the U.S. government, which is a real bad idea. But in the sense that, if you are in control of its destiny, its fate, I feel like you need to start kind of regulating the market, if you will. I mean, we kind of got into that discussion a bit where we talk about the invisible hand and whatnot. But I truly am still a firm believer that because they've created this system and allowed for it to happen, I feel like they really need to start taking charge and just at least creating the, or starting the discussions, starting the direction. Obviously, maybe it can't all be on them. The players, the teams, the franchise owners, everything, they all have to take part in this. It has to be a unified agreement, more or less. It can't just be like, okay, Valve, that's it, and everyone just has to oblige, or too bad, or we're shutting down the game. Like, that's not going to work. It needs to be a cooperation, because at the end of the day, these players could probably leave the game if they'd like to. Let's be honest. If it's like this doesn't have to be something that's going to continue. It has potential to die out. I don't think it will, but I'm just saying there is that possibility that it could just, as fast as it came up, it could start going down. And they do, I think, need to really come in here and help monitor the scene and kind of give some more direction to where they want it to go.
I do think, though, having done this research about the sort of the popular sports of the day, it's really refreshing, and I think sort of maybe gives a glimmer of hope that you might not. I wouldn't have necessarily related these points to, potentially bringing about a more unified Dota 2 pro scene. But, mentioned earlier, Dendy talking about IDEC and players basically coming together and saying, listen, they're not doing it, we're going to make the league. Don't want to talk about it too much because I don't know a lot of the details, but Loda and Funnick actually starting a league in Europe with a $10,000 prize pool. So, again, just an opportunity. And they even mentioned in sort of their statements like, hey, we're trying to do this because we just want to have fun, play professional level, but, I guess sort of eliminate some of the other factors that make it difficult. Maybe not wait for organizers to try to do this. We're just going to do it ourselves. And, maybe if they continue down this path and players really realize, wow, we like this so much better than leaving it up to our teams or leaving it up to organizers, we're just going to do it ourselves and everybody else can deal with it. I mean, you got to remember, too, this is only a couple years old, right? So, in real time, you...
Well, Dota 2 is. Yeah, and I guess it's competitive season. Yeah,
yes. You would almost have to expect, within the next couple years that they'll finally shake out and, you might get some more concrete. But it's really neat to see it growing, and
that kind of resonates. I like pulling from the chat. So what Powerhouse is saying, what's cool is that the options are wide open. I mean, it's true. That's where you're getting at. This is so new, and there is no standard right now. You got different games competing. League of Legends. Here's New Earth. I'm just going to throw them in them. I just said here's New Earth.
Okay.
That other game. That game that shall not be named. Most dislikes on a YouTube video. Anyways. Anyways, yeah. But the point is that, all of them have been doing it their own way. Like with each company, with each game, there is no one standard, and that's kind of almost the beauty of it in the way that, it's up to interpretation from the organizers, from the companies, and just really making sure you kind of work with the players, work with the teams, and get something that everyone can agree on. And right now, it's just so loose and so it doesn't have to conform to really any standards, really, that it's just and oh boy, the word is not coming to me.
You can do it.
Ambiguous. It's not really clear, for example, what do you need to do to get into international? Send Valve a nice fruit basket every month. I don't know what it really requires. And, maybe if they came up with some more standards, came up with some more, ways to make certain tournaments really actually have value and worth and get more, therefore, these franchises, these other people, get them more involved. Kind of lay out the teams and leagues, as you were kind of maybe alluding to, or organizations. I think there's so much potential here. It's just a matter of who's going to take the first step, and how soon are we going to start seeing progress on it?
Yeah, I think it's really important. Just because, I was thinking, in my research across with American football and the NFL, the first Super Bowl, the biggest tournament of the year, was a mistake. It wasn't a mistake, but they weren't planning on it. They got to the end of the season, and oh, these two teams are tied from different leagues. What do we do? Or different conferences. What do we do? I guess we just make one game be a playoff, and then whoever wins for the year. This, you have the opposite, where you go here's the greatest tournament ever, nothing's going to compare. So you really sort of do have to hammer out these things, because you can't really expect something to sort of organically flow out when you don't even really know what it is you're supposed to be working around. You don't know what the structure is to build upon. So, I don't think we're going to see anything for this year, unfortunately. But hopefully at the conclusion of this year's international, we at least get something like, this is what we looked at, or maybe even just that. When the choices are made for this year, this is what we looked at. This is what excluded this team. This is what got this team in. So maybe there's more exacting specifications.
Exactly. And like we said, I don't think we're running out of time. I don't think we're on the Vlad time schedule where, if we don't do something in the next year, shut it down. Shut it down, boys.
The meteor's coming. The mammals are going to take over.
How many people are holding up those signs on the corners of New York City? The next one's going to say Dota's dying or something. Who knows what we're going to see next time we're down there, or up there. I always do that. I get those directions wrong.
Compasses are hard.
Compasses are so difficult. But, it's definitely an interesting conversation that I'd love to get more feedback on people about. Honestly, if you guys want, you can give us some more posts on the Facebook, on the Donut Man. Comment on our the posting we did on donutman.com about episode 108. Let us know your thoughts about it. I'd like to get more of your guys' input. Because I love, like I said, I love pulling from the chat. I love pulling from you guys. This is a community-driven thing. We are just the pretty faces and voices behind it. But at the end of the day, or at least one of us is, but... one has the voice, one has the face. I'll let you guys decide which is which. But at the end of the day, it is definitely an interesting thing that hopefully we'll start seeing some progress on. At least we got to find out, hey, the International's in Seattle for 3 years. At least there was some kind of consistency going on in the pro scene for us. So now I guess we just have to take it that next step.
Yep. Well, as we said, there are a ton of reasons to drop by DotaOnDemand.com. You can participate in this week's question of the week, which is which of the teams from the JD MLG Pro League Season 1 Finals are you most pumped about for the International 5? You can also
go and drop a comment underneath of Genobeam's article, Let's Talk Tracking Improvements. And you could also go ahead and just continue the conversation about the evolving scene professionally. Or you know what else I'd love to see on the Facebook? Your guys' attempts at slasher builds, or your own quote-unquote slasher build of just going a little bit nutty and making it work. So until then, we will see you guys next week. Go out there, watch some Dota, play some Dota.